Hi all, welcome to MeDIDa, a podcast analysing all sorts of media about multiplicity and dissociative identity disorder. We're talking books, movies, television, gaming, and beyond. Whether it's overt or covert, intentional or unintentional, I want to talk about it. I'm your podcast host, Avodacat. I'm a fully fused system, which means my multiplicity is no longer compartmentalized, and I'm constantly intrigued by the way that media that isn't intentionally representing plurality almost always does a better job of it compared to media that's actively setting out to represent it. This podcast is not necessarily a place that's here to educate about DID, multiplicity, or plurality. If you want educational content about plurality, there are several other places that you can get it, both online and offline, but this is specifically a place to review and analyze media. So if you, like me, have opinions on things, stick around and join in the discussion. This podcast is recorded on Kaurna country, and I extend my respect to the traditional custodians of the land and elders past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is still stolen land without any Indigenous treaty. The land I am on impacts how I go about my day-to-day life, including my media analysis, so this acknowledgement of country is important. Today is part 2 of our Dr. Jeni Haynes special episodes, discussing her recent We Are Jeni documentary and the second half of my conversation with Dr. Jeni Haynes. If you would like to skip my review and go straight to the interview, go to 5 minutes and 30 seconds. The documentary We Are Jeni was released earlier this year, 2026, with premiere screenings in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne on March 15th, 17th and 19th respectively. As I am in none of those Australian cities, I saw it later in cinemas on March 29th, during the documentary's limited cinematic release. This documentary was directed by Mariel and Akhim, and specifically documents the Australian criminal case against Jeni's father, Richard Haynes. This is how the We Are Jeni website describes the documentary. Feature documentary We Are Jeni reveals one of the most extraordinary criminal cases in Australian history. With her mind fractured into 2,500 personalities to survive her childhood of unspeakable abuse, Dr. Jeni Haynes fought for justice with every voice she had. This is the story of how Jeni and her army of alters were finally heard. While it is not currently running in theatres anymore, I believe that by the time this podcast episode comes out, it will be available for streaming on HBOMax for United States and United Kingdom, and will be available for streaming on SBS On Demand in June for those in Australia. Seeing this documentary was a uniquely different experience from reading the book The Girl in the Green Dress. While the book allowed for a more immense amount of detail and for each alter who wanted to talk to have a voice, the documentary showed you what it actually looked like, how it physically showed up in Jeni's body. And seeing Jeni on screen gave me a feeling that I had never really felt before. All my life, I'd grown up with media as a very prominent part of my life. I was constantly reading or watching something, or playing a narrative-heavy game. Storytelling was everywhere in my life, and so many of these stories hold places that are incredibly near and dear to my heart. But throughout my life, I had never once looked at a representation and felt like it was representing me. Sure, there were aspects of characters that I could map onto myself in some ways, sometimes even more than that. Those of you who know what an introject is will understand what I'm saying here. But never have I actually felt entirely fully seen as what I am in my entirety in a piece of on-screen media until I watched We Are Jeni. It was honestly and genuinely overwhelming. It was a warmth that spread through my chest and felt like it was going to explode out. It was a giddiness that made it difficult to sit still. Now, Jeni and I have very different systems and very different stories. And yet still, seeing an actual system represented on screen like that was not something that I had experienced before outside of YouTube videos and other online platforms. When I watched We Are Jeni, I felt like I was seen because Jeni was seen. Jeni was seen and heard and recognized as real in this documentary, and that is such an incredibly valuable representation for our community to have. I think it is important to acknowledge that while this is a very important documentary, and I feel incredibly positively towards it, it does contain very intense and extreme content around child abuse, childhood torture, childhood sexual assault, incest, and rape, among other things. So please take care to ensure that you are safe if you choose to watch this film. Now, before I give my final thoughts and ratings of the documentary, we are going to cut to the second part of my interview and conversation with Dr. Jeni Haynes. This part picks up with Jeni providing survivors with some advice on seeking justice in the legal system. Now, just some content warnings right at the beginning. This interview has discussions around childhood abuse, childhood neglect, childhood sexual assault, incest, rape, references to Jeni's triggers around babies due to childhood pregnancy and miscarriages, systemic injustices, silencing, ableism, fear of anatomy, homophobia, kink, as well as conversations around Billy Milligan and the representations of MPD and DID across various medias.
I would absolutely recommend to those people who can go for justice. We can talk about the tough bits about it. We can talk about the good stuff about it. But as long as you walk in there knowing that police officer that you tell the first day, he may not instantly believe you. Mm-hmm. He's a police officer. His job is to find evidence to support your account. Your police officer working on your case for 5 minutes in a day is validation of your story. I would strongly support people with DID seeking justice. Mm-hmm. I think that we are the survivors of the worst possible criminal acts. I mean, I know people think that murder's worse, but you're dead. Sex abuse in your childhood is a crime that just goes forever. It never ends because you're having to disclose it. You're having to deal with it. And especially people with MPD, we've not exactly had a mild childhood. We've had childhood that most of the population would run screaming from, but we weren't able to do that. So if there's a chance to get justice, if there's a chance that you can sit there and say, this person did this to me, go to the police. Tell them. Let's flood the courts with DID-related crimes. According to Dr. George Blair West, there is something like 1% of the population has DID. I did not handle that well in the book, I can assure you. We had something of a major meltdown over that in the book. But let's assume for a moment that 10% of that 1% go for justice. Shouldn't we, as survivors, have justice? Shouldn't we be supported? Shouldn't we get what we deserve? Our lives have been devastated. So, yeah, go and demand your justice.
Yes.
Just don't write 900,000 words, hey?
I mean, like, if it needs 900,000 words.
Oh. Well, see, the policeman, he said, tell me everything. Write down
and
everything.
You took it literally.
Well, we're multiples. Of course, I fucking remember. Anyway, he didn't know that I would take it that literally. I didn't know he didn't mean it that literally. I mean, the normal size of a police report is 9,000 words. 900,000 words? Oops. So
I mean, there's like, you know, if you average that out, each also got less than the average. So
absolutely. And importantly, the statement only covers 7 years of the 14 years of abuse because we could only cover what happened in Australia. I would like to see a court set up that was in each country and said, if you are from this country, but you were abused in multiple other countries, we will take your case on and we will apply the laws as they apply in the country in which it took place. Sort of like an international court for child abuse survivors.
Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Oh, it'd be amazing. Because what happens is you can only talk about what happened in this jurisdiction. So if you move a lot, you can't get justice for the entirety. You can get what justice for what happened to you in, say, Ohio, and then you can go to another court case and what happened to you in Mississippi, or maybe what happened to you in Texas, or in Australia, Queensland, Western Australia, Northern Territory. But you can't do it all as one. And so victims end up having to revisit their abuse multiple times. When the police first sent through the my police statement, the brief of evidence included over 1,000 charges. Yeah, for 7 years. When they went through it, they only charged Dad with things that got him no less than 3 years in prison. So it dropped to 367 charges. Then we get the trial and it's 85 charges. And then he finally pleads guilty to 25, but he'd like another 16 taken into account at sentencing. Numbers are going in the wrong direction. I honestly believe that I would walk out of the courtroom with his guilty plea. He'd get 2 years in prison for the whole damn lot, and I'd be back in 2 years to do it all over again. Nobody told me what to expect. And when we got 296 years, I was delighted. It came down to 45 years and 33 and a third years in non-parole period. So I don't have to do it again. But I was fully expecting that I would have to go in and do court cases for the rest of my life, which doesn't really help a victim put it behind them. So assume for a moment that you're sitting listening to me and you're thinking, well, I'd like some justice. I know where my offender is. I know who my offender is, and I know what they did. So I'm going to go to the police. Here's your advice. Go to the police in the neighborhood where it happened. Even if that means that you have to email a neighborhood that you have not been in for decades, go back to where it happened. And this will save you 2 to 3 years of police process. Because if you write it where you're living now, they then write it and then they transfer it into the format for the police jurisdiction that it occurred in. Then you have to take it all the way up in my case, in Queensland, we have to take it all the way up to the Department of Public Prosecutions in Queensland to say, if it had happened in Queensland, yes, they would lay charges. Then it bounced all the way back down to the bottom and started again in New South Wales. So work out where the worst things happened and go to that jurisdiction. Whether you are in the UK, whether you're in America, New Zealand, Australia, Europe, the Middle East, go to where it happened. You will save yourself at least a year of distress. Second point, police cannot always lay charges for everything that happened to you. Remember, 1,000 charges down to 81. So pick the things that were the worst for you. Pick what matters the most to you and tell them about that. Tell them about what you know you have outside of you evidence for.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever if you went and it happened on the one weekend you spent at your auntie's house in whatever year, pick that one,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that other people can provide evidence for. Even if they don't believe you, they have to say, yes, you were in my house on that weekend. Don't tell the police everything. I know it's a tough call, but don't tell the police everything. It overwhelms them.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them what you can particularize. Now, that's a legal term where you say, this, I know this happened because it happened the first week after we moved into the new house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got something that you can hang a hook on it. Okay.
Yep.
You now know, so you can say where it is. You can talk about the move. You can talk about the circumstances. You can talk about what happened, but you've got something that the police can investigate. Yes, the house was bought because they've got house records. The house was bought on this weekend. You moved in on this weekend. Find events that, if the police don't charge your offender with them, you are not going to be devastated, because the police like the first and the last, and then they like one for each year when it happened. So you write what I did. My father, trigger warning, raped me every weekend for 1980. He was there every weekend, started on Friday nights, finished on Sunday nights. It was never ending. Police can't charge him with that. Police can't give him a uniform. You did this the whole of 1980. So you pick a few days, knowing that the police cannot always charge on everything you report. So get what I was, the prosecution called it this, the non-negotiables, which Symphony heard as the non-negotiables, and she's still trying to parcel out where the goat fits in. So yeah, if you have something that you want him to plead, him or her, sorry, I do not mean to be sexist, child molesters are both genders. If there's something that you want them to own up to, then you make sure you tell the police about it, and you give every detail to prove that one thing, and that is your non-negotiable. You don't care what else they charge him for. You want that one.
Yep.
I had a list, and one of the things that I wanted him to plead guilty to was the night that he made me choose what he would do to me. It was horrendous. And the night he made me choose. So when we finally get he's going to make a guilty plea, I actually got to choose what he got to plead guilty to. Trust me, that was a very difficult day. We got so many people wanting different things. If you have MPD, DID, and there's something that happened to you as a specific alter, you're going to want that covered. But I have 2,000 plus people that had different and distinct things happening to them. So what we said was there would be a nominated rape, a nominated anal rape, sodomy, buggery, and a nominated attack with objects. And as long as he pled guilty to one, he was owning responsibility for all. So if you are looking at seeking justice, and he's going to make a plea bargain or she's going to negotiate, remember that any admission of guilt for any of it is an admission that you're telling the truth.
Yes.
And that one admission of guilt proves that you are telling the truth.
Yes.
And if people can go into seeking justice with this kind of mindset, it will be an easier process. So take the next step. You've made your police statement and the police says don't tell anybody. We talked about that earlier, but I'm going to reiterate.
Yep.
It means don't talk to anybody who could blab to somebody who might blab to your offender that you've gone to the police. It doesn't mean you cannot say anything to anybody ever. Make sure that you go and get yourself support.
Yes. Support is so important.
Yeah. Be aware that sex offenders can and do seek access to your therapy notes. And the law says that they have to have those notes. Now, this can be really frightening, but my line was this. Sure, I don't care. He can have my therapy notes. He can read what it is I said about him. May he have fun reading it. He can find out what I think of him. Yeah. He can find out what I've said because I've told the truth and it's going to hit him in the face. So when we go as people with DID and MPD seeking justice, we are taking a huge step, but it's a step that's necessary where possible because every step of the way is validation of you. Police do not do 10-year investigations if they don't believe you. They don't lay charges if they don't believe you. They don't interview all your friends going back 30 years if they don't believe you. So everything that you hear, take as a positive. If the police say, we can't talk about this for operational reasons, it isn't that they've put you in the too hard basket. I was told that they couldn't disclose things to me because of operational decisions, and I thought they'd put me in the too hard basket, and what they'd actually done was set up a task force. So my perception was so at odds with what was really going on.
Yeah, well, they weren't telling you anything, so...
They can't tell you anything.
Yeah.
And it's fair and it's legitimate. They can't tell you. But we need, as survivors, to validate one another. And I talk of survivors of neglect, sex abuse, physical abuse, people with MPD, DID, people who've gone through medical trauma and have DID as a result. We need to support one another.
Yes.
We don't need to flood each other with the details of what happened to us, but actually having somebody that understands what it's like living with DID to say, oh man, that must have been a really shit hard time. It means more. It means so much when somebody who's been the same path as you sits there and says, hey, it's shit.
Yeah.
You do not need to tell me what happened. I believe you. Your diagnosis tells me you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Which is a complete spin on how our diagnosis has been treated in the past. So if everybody with DID and MPD can grab onto the fact that your diagnosis tells everybody that you're a victim of crime. Your diagnosis tells everybody that you had an extreme amount of abuse and it was life-threatening and it was unavoidable and inescapable. That's just in your diagnosis. And you haven't even said, I've got a history. All you've said is I've got DID. And I want everybody to get to a point where all of these things I've just said are immediately brought up in our mind as this is what DID MPD means.
Yep.
And then I can sit there and say to my friend who has DID, from sitting in my trauma, I can sit there and say to them, you are having a really tough week. A lot's happened. What can I do to help you get through this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? Mug of hot chocolate, please. Doesn't have to be earth-shattering,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to ask for something, as people with DID, we struggle with that.
Yep.
To be able to say to somebody, I just want a marshmallow in my hot chocolate. Can you get me a hot chockey with marshmallows? It's small, it's simple, it's tiny, but you're actually doing self-care.
Yes.
And you're letting somebody else take care of you. So when my friend phones and says, how are you going? What do you need? And I say, hot chockey, they get in the car and they drive 30 minutes to my place, pick up a hot chocolate and marshmallows on the way so that I can have a marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that fills us because it's something we never had as a child.
Mm-hmm.
None of us who've been through the neglect, trauma, abuse stuff, boy, girl, not girl, trans, we don't get that as part of our lives. We are denied self-care.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so real and so important. Yeah, I love the way that you've described that. And just asking for the little things can be so
Oh, yeah.
empowering.
Yeah. You know, it's the tiniest little thing. I just want a Mars bar. Or will you come and sit and watch ER with me?
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to read this book, but it's freaking me out. And can I have you just in my house?
Mm.
Well, I read Jeni's book's terrifying. Please, can I just have somebody with me while I read it? Or whatever. So survivors, regardless of whether you seek justice or not, survivors will benefit when survivors support other survivors.
Yes.
The amount of validation I get from doing something like this, which is validating everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. I mean, knowing that somebody's going to hear this and somebody's going to decide to go for justice. What an amazing gift.
Mm.
So I'm super passionate about that, just in case you
Yeah.
missed it.
Which
So
is a
assume for a
fantastic
moment,
thing to
yeah,
be passionate about.
oh, absolutely. So assume for a moment you've gone to your police and the police have decided to lay charges,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell you this after the fact. And you sit there going, well, I could have used the fact that you were going for arrest warrants and charges as therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't missed your opportunity. Sit down with the fact that they now have arrest warrants, they now have charges, and use that as therapy. Use every step of the process as best you can as therapy. Keep your therapist, your psychiatrist, your psychologist up to date.
Mm-hmm.
They may be called as witnesses. You need to have told them,
Mm-hmm.
because then they can stand up in court for you like George Blair West did for me. And that's an incredible gift to have him actually go to court as my psychiatrist. And he was the first witness.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredible. And we can use that. So
Yep.
you've got your arrest warrant. Okay, now they've gone and they've got him and they've arrested him and they've brought him into town. Revel in it, darling. Enjoy it. Revel in the fact that that person has just been put into handcuffs. Revel in the fact that they're now going to be told when they can and can't go to the toilet, when they can sleep, when they can eat, what they can eat. Just enjoy it, because they now have some of the powerlessness that we had as children.
Mm.
Take your power back, because bear in mind, he or she, again, I apologize for the gendering.
Mm. You're speaking from your
They,
experience.
yeah, they've gone into prison or they've been arrested, this isn't for the police. Nobody gets arrested for the police. He's been arrested, she's been arrested for what they did to you. This is validation. It doesn't matter if your offender sits there and calls you a liar. They're going to call you a liar. They're going to call you a fantasist. They're going to call you vindictive. It's very important to understand there are two paths that sex crime investigations go. There's the way that the innocent person behaves, and that's one path. Police know that path, and the police know when a person behaves in a set way, and I'm not going to say how because I don't want offenders to watch this and change it, but when innocent people react to allegations, it's very different from how guilty people react to allegations. The police will know whether you're telling the truth based on how your offender behaves when confronted with your allegations. And the two paths diverge. Police know whether you're telling the truth based on which way your offender has gone. And they don't tell you this. They never tell you this.
No, there's so much they just don't tell you.
Because it's their world.
Yeah.
They talk in a way that assumes that everybody in their world knows their world. But we're victims. We don't have a clue.
No.
And I didn't know any of this when I started in 1996. And that's why I want to make sure that we talk about it and we tell victims, your offender is going to you're going to react one of two ways. How they react in that initial allegation will tell the police whether they're guilty or innocent. And that's positive for you. So there is a stage we need to talk about. And this is the moment when the police decline to prosecute or they drop the charges.
Yes.
Now, this happens a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, police are not dropping charges because they don't believe you. They are not withdrawing charges because they've decided you're a liar. If charges are withdrawn, dropped, modified, it is based on the evidence the police have been able to gather. It says nothing about your truth. It says nothing about your truthfulness. It talks about the amount of outside of you evidence the police can gather.
Yeah.
Really important. Police, if they've laid those charges, they believe you. If they come to you and say, we can't lay charges, or we've had to drop the investigation, it's not because they don't believe you, it's because they cannot find enough evidence to prove to a court beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And it's so important to understand that, because we sit there and we freak. Oh my God, they've dropped the charges, they've changed the charges. And it's about level of supporting evidence. It's not about whether they believe you or not, because police are neutral. They don't believe you immediately. No matter how convincing you are, police will believe you when they find evidence to back up your story. Piece of evidence that backed up my story was so extraneous, so bizarre, so out of it. My dad attacked me the day after I sang for the Queen. And we actually had to get records from Buckingham Palace to prove that the Queen was where I said the Queen was, wearing what I said she was, on the day she was. So when I'm talking about evidence, I'm not talking about necessarily getting evidence from family members who are going to lie to support whichever decision they've made about your veracity. Do not look to your family of origin, to identify whether or not you are a truthful person. Your family of origin or the family in which you were abused are not good people to go to work out your honesty.
Very true, very true.
Trust me on that. But we got evidence from Buckingham Palace. I mean, go figure. I didn't even know they were going to go look for it, but I remember singing for her and I remember everything. And so I can prove that those events took place, which helps set the base for proving the abuse that I allege took place afterwards as a result of, according to my father, lying about singing for the Queen. I can prove that those things happened because I can prove that these things took place on this day. Remember, that's how we do the particularization of offences. So I knew I'd sung for the Queen. I didn't know it was important. I didn't know that it was a wonderful thing until I watched, I think it was MasterChef, and they got to cook for Prince Charles, and they were all sort of flipping, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm just sitting there going, I sang for his mum. So what? I didn't know that my reaction was the abnormal thing. My father abused me. My mother is a rabid anti-monarchist, so they weren't exactly thrilled that I sang for the Queen, but I did. And there's proof that she attended the event where I said, when I said, and what she was wearing. It was all listed in her diary for the day.
Yep.
So people can provide evidence that supports you far more than you understand the evidence is out there. So go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for justice and wave my name like a sodding banner. Say, well, go and look at Jeni Haynes. Go and look at the court case against Richard John Haynes in 2019. Go and read it. It's a reported finding. It sets a precedent. Go use it. Use me.
Yes.
Make your sex offenders terrified of getting the Jeni Haynes because that is a good thing.
Yeah.
But when you're there, remember everything is about you. And I say this because it took me 8 years to work it out. I mean, it took from 1996 to 2018 for me to work out that the court case was about me.
Yeah.
And I have a doctorate. Are you worried?
Listen,
You're worried about the standard of education these days.
It runs deep, the feeling of inadequacy and feeling lesser than. It runs so deep. It's so hard to come out of it.
It is. And that's why I'm saying to everybody, use me.
Yes.
Having a tough day? Send me a thing on Facebook. I will try to reply. But even if I can't reply, I have read it because I read everything. Because even if I don't have the time or the capacity that day to reply to you, you can tell yourself, Jeni says, I see you. I hear you. I believe you. What happened to you matters. You matter. So when you send off that message, even if you don't get a response directly from me, you can give it to yourself. You can use the words I will use every time because I do believe you. You do matter. What happened to you matters. And those bastards should be in prison. Yes. So let's get some of them in prison, shall we? Let's get them where they belong. And the more stories of people with DID that come out in the media, that go for justice, that get guilty verdicts, and every one of them so far has had a guilty verdict.
Hell yeah.
That's just incredible. I am so happy about that. The mere fact of going and seeking justice, it's yours. It's you taking back power. It's you saying, I am not a weak, tiny child who's defenseless and helpless. And I've got Jeni Haynes in my corner. Fuck you. We're going to court. Go for it. I do not mind. I don't care if the rest of my life is spent supporting survivors to get justice. Obviously, I can't go up in court and speak because that's we're talking my lived experience, not yours. But being able to vent and say the bastard got bail. Yes, he got bail. That doesn't mean that the judge doesn't believe you. It doesn't mean that he doesn't belong in jail. It means that he doesn't meet the criteria for instant bang up.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, there's so many issues with the way that the system runs as well. So, you know.
Oh, yeah. The other thing that can happen is adjournments. Adjournments are horrendous. You get yourself all ready to go to court. You've done everything that you need to do. You rock up, you've got everything, and then it's court's adjourned. Another hearing in 6 weeks. And then you go home and you do it again. And it can be frustrating, but you just consider this rehearsal. All great people rehearse. Mm-hmm. So we're just doing rehearsals. And the other thing that they'll pull is they're sick.
Yeah, they'll use any tactic to delay.
My father was 74 years old when he finally gets into prison. He wasn't 74 years old when he did this to me. And you have to hold on to that. And just because he's a weak little old man, or she's looking after her parents and she's a carer, none of that in any way diminishes what they did to you. Mm-hmm. Just because they get bail because they need to look after their, great-grandchild doesn't mean that you're not being believed. It means that we're operating within the law as the law is written. And the law has to be our first stop. Yeah. We have to take it seriously. We have to look at the law and say, okay, what can the law do for us? Because the law isn't there written for sex offenders, even though it feels like it. The law is written to help victims. Hold on to that, because everything is about you. Even when it looks like it's about them, it's actually about you.
So the second question is very much a question that I put in for my own personal enjoyment.
Yes.
So I really enjoyed in the documentary We Are Jeni the way that you compared your MPD to Dungeons and Dragons, and making sure you've built out a party with the skill sets to face certain situations. As a fellow fan of like nerdy things like Doctor Who and tabletop role-playing games, I really appreciate the odd moments in the book and the documentary where you talk about your love of these things. And I wanted to ask, because from my own experience, the hobbies that I've loved have varied depending on the altar. That it's not like a universal thing for us. So I wanted to ask, from your experience, do you all have a variety of interests as well, or are you more aligned on what you enjoy?
Oh, wow. Yes. My altars have so many interests and so many hobbies, and different people do different things. Mm-hmm. So we've got Dungeons and Dragons is a big deal for us. Yes. And every time we go to role play a character, we sit down and we're like, okay, what kind of character are we going to make? And then the next question is, well, who's going to run it? And then we make a character that fits with who's going to run the character. So I've got friends who are really supportive around this, and they're like, then we're in the process of making a D&D set of characters so that when we play, we've got the main character, and then we've got supplemental characters based on who's likely to show up on the day, and then they've got a character ready to play.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's a way to get everybody to play, and it means that there's no pressure on any one alter. If they're not feeling it, they can just go, not today, and somebody else can come in and play their own character. So I'm very fortunate. I've got friends who understand DID and me, and they're so open to that. But, we've got characters that reflect different alters. So we might have Gabrielle might play a character and she'll be sexy and feminine and beautiful because it gives her a chance to role play sexy and feminine in a safe space.
Yes.
And if she does it wrong, nobody bitches at her and she goes, oh, I don't think that was quite girly enough, was it? We dropped an F-bomb. Oh, my Lord.
That's not ladylike.
Definitely, that's not elegant. What are we doing? That's not elegant. So it's an opportunity to role play different types of femininity, sexuality, humanity. And so it's fantastic. But we've also got alters that go, I don't like that. I want to play that. I want to play zombie dice. Or I want to play Pathfinder. This D&D is boring. We've played it for decades. I want to try Pathfinder.
Yeah, there are so many other tabletop role-playing games out there.
Right, there's so much. And it's just fun for us. And, sticking with D&D for a second, I actually read your question when you sent it to me earlier. And I went, do you know something? I've actually been living a paladin. Because paladins, they make an oath.
Yes.
And then everything they do is about that oath.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in 1996, I made an oath. And it sounds something like this. Lord, let me find him, that I might see him safe behind bars. I will never rest till then. This I swear by the stars. And I swore it in 1996. It's actually stars from Les Miserables. And the whole song is just, it's so important to us. But that one segment, that's what I vowed. And everything I have done between 1996 and 2019, quite a long time that, has been to see him safe behind bars. And I did it.
You did it.
So, yeah. So when we talk D&D, I'm actually, it's more than just role play. This is exactly what I did. I set an oath, and I have been a paladin ever since. And I'm rather proud of that.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I also think it's really important to hear how powerful role-playing can be for your system, because
it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. I got to role play somebody that was not female. I've been able to role play men. I've been able to role play fighters and get up there and actually hit things. I'm not safe around goblins.
But
I've never hit anything in my life. And there I was role-playing physicality and then making decisions about how physical I would be. And to role-play the idea of actually hitting something, That was really hard
Yeah.
because I wanted to know whether they were bad people. Were they really bad goblins, or were we just hitting them because they're goblins?
Yeah.
So
Asking the
morality
questions.
and ethics came into my role-playing games. Thankfully, like I said, I had supportive friends because I got told by somebody, "You are so overthinking it." Yeah, but maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe this is the
Yes.
exact amount you're supposed to think it.
Well, that's right. I mean, we don't, I have never gone out in the morning and said, I want the house next door. So I'm just going to go in next door, kill them, and then take over their house.
Hmm.
You know, but you can role play that.
You can, yeah.
And it's safe. Nobody ever gets hurt.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, role play is so important. And my alters, every one of them has a interesting side hustle as a um, paladin or an archer or a bard. We think in song lyrics. So we're going to actually get to try a bard, and then we will actually be allowed to talk in song lyrics as part of our character.
That's so
So
cool.
that's going to be fun. But for us, there's so many interests. When I was living with my family, didn't matter if I loved board games. We never got to play because everybody else was bored. They didn't want to play. And so I've gone out and I've actively found groups, and I have gone to libraries and done role-playing game one shots, which
Yep.
have been fantastic. I've made friends in the community, and we're in the process of hopefully getting to go to the Thursday night board game night once a month. Haven't
Nice.
made it yet, but it's on the list.
Yes.
But it's so good because it allows me to meet people and engage with people outside of a trauma setting.
Hmm.
And so I deliberately do not role play my past.
Yeah.
We really
Totally
don't want to be there for
understandable.
that, do we? No, no. So, and some people that I've played with, they tend to role play their
Mhm.
issues, but we play for the simple fact of playing. Look, let's be honest. If you've got MPD or DID, play was not big in your childhood.
Mm.
You did not get to play. You did not get to have the fun stuff that every other child seems to have had. So as a grown up, I get to play, and it is beautiful. It is
Yes.
absolutely beautiful. So we love that you picked up on Doctor Who. Doctor Who is the center of my world. Um, Minor trigger warning. Doctor Who played for 25 minutes a week on Australian TV in the 70s.
Hmm.
And that gave me 25 minutes that I was completely and utterly safe. My
Hmm.
dad watched Doctor Who, so he wasn't going to attack me during Doctor Who. And as a result, I have developed an absolute love of Doctor Who. I'm obsessed. I'm a classic Who girl.
Mm.
I started with John Pertwee and Tom Baker. So that's third and fourth Doctor. We're on what, number 15?
Think so.
Heading into number 16 when they
It's
decide
something like
who's going
that.
to do this.
I think that they've sort of lost track of the numbers a little bit because there's been
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many weird
especially
moments.
yeah, especially with David Tennant being two doctors, possibly three. That's just
Right?
confusing. But anything with David Tennant, I love that man. He's incredible.
He is very good.
So I've got alters that love Doctor Who. And so we have magazines, we have the videos, we have DVDs. And
Hmm.
every time we go out and we see a Doctor Who model, it comes home. We have
Hmm.
an entire Dalek army.
Yeah, all of my Doctor Who stuff is in my lounge room, but I have a DVD box that's a blue phone box.
Oh, wow. Yes. Unfortunately, I have three wardrobes full of Doctor Who. So it's going to have to be a very big TARDIS to put that lot in.
Yeah.
But it's just wonderful. And I've got them and I share them with my friends, and we've got Whovians all over town. And it's lovely. So different alters like different characters. So our first ever man that we liked was Harry Sullivan. Now that's taken us back a long time.
Yeah.
We adored Harry Sullivan. And he was somebody that we watched that he felt safe. So you watch Doctor Who, and Doctor Who is safety because you're not going to be abused during this time, but it's also safety because these men are role-playing safe men. After all, I didn't see Harry Sullivan doing anything that was, illegal. And, I loved Harry Sullivan. He was my favourite. And then there was Adric.
I've heard people have very mixed opinions about Adric.
I loved Adric. Adric was what, 16 years
He was
old?
a kid. Yeah.
He was a kid. He and I was a teenager watching him. So for me, I love Adric. Absolutely loved him. Because he was real. And I have never forgiven the Cybermen for killing Adric.
To be fair, we just shouldn't forgive the Cybermen in general.
Well, but in order to not forgive the Cyberman, right, I have a Cyberman cookie jar of the 1984 Cybermen that killed Adric.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. And it took me over 25 years to source one because it's got cookie in the name, so you can't import it into Australia because it's a cookie jar and it might have cookies in there.
Oh no, and yeah, our border security would never.
Border security is funky on cookies. So yes, we've had Amazon wouldn't allow us to buy it, and we found one eventually when we were in London in 2009, and we came home with our very own Cyberman cookie jar in 2015.
I love that.
But we brought him in the suitcase so that we could actually open it up and prove no cookies inside. Please let him pass the border. Please. I've been doing this for 25 years. Give a girl a break. So but there's different alters love different enemies. Symphony loves the Zygons. She thinks the Zygons were incredible, and Mr. Moffat put up a post many years ago saying, the 60th anniversary is coming. What do you want to see? And she wrote to Mr. Moffat and asked for the Zygons. And what did we get in that? In the 60th anniversary, we got Zygons. Zygons, people. And she's sitting there going, oh my God. She's like, please, Mr. Moffat, it would just about make my universe if you could bring back the Zygons. And he did. So she loves Mr. Moffat. She won't say his first name. No. She's little. They're all Mr.
Yeah.
It would be like Mr. Sullivan or Dr. Sullivan. It's never Harry.
Yeah.
For somebody. She's very polite. But Doctor Who is something that a lot of our alters really enjoy for a lot of different reasons. And then there's the makeup collection. And then there's the plastic nail collection. Oh, dear Lord, they go up the wall, I tell you. And there's miniatures. There's an altar that loves painting miniatures. So we have a massive miniature collection waiting to be painted. Then we've got the paint collection. And so juggling time so that everybody gets their time has been a little bit of an entertaining experience. But one of the things that we did for many years was we made jewelry. We sold it in the markets and it was very successful. And then I got sick and injured my spine, and it's become something that we haven't been able to do for a while. But it was really interesting. We're going back into it. Oh my God, I'm going to make jewelry for multiples by multiples by telling you what it's made from and who made it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that's going to be happening down the track. But when we make the jewelry, right, you get your equipment out, and then a different altar will arrive and make some jewelry. You want to see muscles? He makes the most incredible unisex dragon gemstone jewelry. He puts on Guns N' Roses.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. He's a big Gunners fan. Puts on Guns N' Roses and knocks out these incredible unisex stuff. So it's not floral or anything. It's very neutral, but it's all dragons and claws and gemstones. And I cannot wait to actually set up for multiples by multiples and let Muscles have his own page of what he makes, because he's incredible. And when we were selling in the market, he couldn't make enough for the demand. It was incredible. And it's because he understands what men will accept as masculine jewelry. And we, blacks and grays, obsidian, hematite, stuff that is not girly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got Symphony, who makes the most incredible jewelry out of Fimo for children. So the littles are covered because Symphony makes necklaces for littles.
I love that.
And then we've got Gabrielle, who does elegant. And so every altar that wants to comes and makes jewelry. And it's really interesting to watch. And you can tell when we switch because the music changes. Somebody comes in and is like, Guns N' Roses. No, I want the Osmonds. And then we get hippie jewelry from the 70s. And it's so wonderful to be able to do this. And the altars just love it. We did we went shopping online, and the first altar goes on and they put what they want in the cart. The next altar comes along and goes, what the hey? And takes all of that out and then goes and gets the next lot. And then this happened about 12 times. In the end, I had to remember at least one thing from each of the 12 carts so that everybody got something that they'd wanted.
Yep.
Luckily, after the first person pulled everything out of the cart, we went, hang on, what's going on here? And we were able to go, okay, this is a thing, so we need to remember what's in everybody's carts. And we've got an altar that is obsessed with reuse and recycle, but also making hypoallergenic jewelry for people that can't wear gold and silver. So they put stainless steel in the cart. So we're going to go and get some more stainless steel so that we can make hypoallergenic. And they're big on reuse and recycle. So we're going to go, and there's this lovely woman in America. She has sheds, and they are in the process of rusting. And as they rust and they hit the appropriate level of rust, she then cuts pendants out of the rusted metal.
That's so interesting.
It's so cool. And when we get those, they are incredible. And so the guy who wants to reuse and recycle is very much, we need the rusted metal. So everything has reasons, everything has purpose, everything has a meaning. And so when we make jewelry, it's not just, we just beaded a few things together and stuck a magnet on it. Everything is, this is who did it and why they did it and how they did it and what it means. So, yeah. Your question was fantastic because these are the things that we don't get to talk about, you know. MPD, DID talk is often about therapeutic intervention, but the therapy's 50 minutes a week. What the hell do we do in the rest of the time?
Exactly.
Well, I bead and watch Doctor Who. In fact, if we if we are really good, we can put Doctor Who on the DVD player, watch Doctor Who while beading, and then you get the most incredible jewelry because we put colours together that represent what's on the tellies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Love
jewelry
it.
was made inspired by this Doctor Who episode.
Exactly. This beautiful piece of lapis that we've used has been chosen because it's TARDIS blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then we teamed it with this color and that color to represent the windows. So we've got some clear crystal to represent the windows of the TARDIS. And we've got some wood beads because the TARDIS is supposed to be made from wood.
Exactly.
And before you know it, you've got a piece of jewelry that speaks to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with us is we never make the same thing twice.
Only one of a
So
kind.
unless there's a specific request, but it's so good. We can't wait to make jewelry for the littles. Oh my goodness, Symphony is so looking forward to that. And we're really seriously thinking that this is a way to, how should I put it? Our jewelry making for multiples by multiples or dissociated identities for dissociated identities, whichever one you prefer, it's recognizing the hours that are outside of therapy and recognizing that little that is in your system that only ever comes out for crap stuff is valued and matters. And here is a Femo dog necklace because they're into dogs or whatever. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's another way to go back to the community I didn't know I have and say, you matter. What you like matters. Your preferences matter. You want blue? Let's find the exact blue you're asking for. Because you matter, your interests matter. It's not just what happened to you matters and you don't matter because it's not happening anymore. You matter. Everything I do is filtered at the moment through what does this say to every other person with DID or MPD out there? How are we helping bigger than just therapy and justice? Because we are, as people with MPD, we are more than what happened to us.
Exactly.
And that's why we're going to do jewelry from multiples to multiples.
I love that.
If everybody can tolerate the term multiple, we're all good.
I think it's actually a relatively common shorthand term for I hear multiple, I hear plural, I hear system. All of these terms sort of more interchangeable.
Yes, they are. Although I put up something on Facebook and got told by somebody, it's not been called that for 34 years. Stop saying it. I'm like, honey, I have it. And this is the term I prefer.
Yeah. There is
which I'd already put in a pinned post.
There are definitely people that are contentious about certain languages, but it's all very individualized.
Yes, of course. And the thing is, some people feel more comfortable with the idea of dissociated identities. And I fully respect that. You can call yourself whatever the hell you want. It doesn't change the fact that you have had a history of trauma, and I want to make it better for you today and going forward, whatever the hell term you want to use. If you want to say, I've got an entire farmyard, fine. Does the duck need cuddling? Do you need to go chase the geese? What does the little sheepdog need? It's respecting everybody, whatever term they want. And that's me, and I am being told that I ought to mention my epic Magic the Gathering collection.
Everybody has one.
Until I moved just recently, I had an entire room of Magic the Gathering cards all all sorted by alphabetical, by color, by what they were. It's taken me years to get it together. And yeah, we have an entire Magic the Gathering room. This is something that, when you talk about, do your alters have hobbies? Yeah. And I don't even want to think about how much that's cost me.
Oh, so real. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Even just, the ring binders to put it all in. I mean, they're not cheap. So yes, we have a games room. And then we have somebody who has a total love of Stephen King. So we have every book Stephen King's ever written. So funny. When I'm having a bad time and we're really feeling like we don't matter or things are going wrong, we just pick up Stephen King's It and read because it's comfortable, because we know that world. That's embarrassing to admit, isn't it? Oh my God, he speaks our language. But the best thing is we had an altar that was our front runner in the lead up to the trial. And she loves mountains.
Yep.
She's obsessed with mountains. But in the lead up to the trial, so Christmas 2018, all the people that had said that they were going to support us for the trial in February pulled out.
Oh.
And the front runner at the time basically fell off a cliff and just couldn't handle it. She was running around with like 6 weeks to go, trying to find support for a trial that, we've been 10 years now.
Yeah.
And with 6 weeks to go, everybody said, oh, we can't do it. No, can't come. Anyway, we refer to it as falling off a cliff. She was not well at all. And she said the magic words, can I go now? And we had an all in and we decided that, yes, she could go. So what Symphony did, because Symphony is very good at making landscapes, is Symphony made a scale model of Everest for the horrendous climbing season of 1996, where they lost a large number of people in a storm. And she made a scale model. And then she put little Lego people on the model and labeled them, each person that was involved. So that's what led to the development of me, the entity currently known as Jeni. But, we have our interests, and it's not just that interests are huge, which they are. Interests are also a way for my inner people to build community within themselves. Which is great. And when you can sit down and there are 5 people talking to you about Everest in 1996, it's a little community.
Yeah.
I got a support worker just started working with me. She actually trekked to Everest Base Camp, and she saw my library of mountain books and went weak at the knees and working with you.
I love that.
Yeah. So, there's lots of interest. And of course, there's the student, and there's interest in ancient history and archaeology and unexplained phenomenon. Oh my God, my brain just never stops.
It's so real. There's only so many hours in the day.
Oh, it's terrible, isn't it?
That's the great tragedy of it.
Yes, yes. And when you've got to get everybody's interest covered, it can be tricky. But we take everybody to the arcade and they get to play in the arcade on various games. So everything we do outside of our therapy time is just as much about our alters as our therapy is. But most people seem to think that you have MPD, you go to therapy, and then you ignore them for the rest of the week.
Yeah, no,
and then
they only exist in therapy, right?
Yeah, they just rock up on Thursday at 9 o'clock for your hour with your shrink. And that's so not true.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, these are the things that people never talk about. So I know it was a big answer to a big question, but it does demonstrate how much that there's more to DID and MPD than what occurs in the therapy hour.
Exactly. A lot of
50
people
minutes.
really like to clinicalize the whole thing, and it's like, no, it's still like we live with this. It's every day.
Yeah, it's all the time. And that's why I've given you such a big and broad answer, because I think it's important that people with DID can sit there and go, she's just like me.
Yeah. I had that moment. I was watching the documentary and you were walking through the con, and I'm like, it's me.
Yeah, the con was amazing. And, you know, it was so funny. There was a little stall where if you paid $20 and you rolled the dice, and then you got the dice set of the number you rolled up, and I got on my first go one of the two numbers I wanted. So I was so excited.
That's so
That
good.
was not fudged. That was actually, oh my God, moment.
That's
And
amazing.
they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful dice. I'm a dice goblin from way back.
Totally real.
Yeah. Mm.
When you were sort of in an integrated state, there was sort of an exploration around gender that I found really interesting, where there was the active decision made to live as a woman rather than just passively accepting that role because it was the body that you were born into. And now,
Mm.
as you've all sort of stepped back and unintegrated, do you still feel that living as a woman is your collective truth, or are opinions varied, or do you ever see anything shifting in the future around that?
Oh, that is a Gabrielle question, definitely. Uh, I've just had Boris go, I'm out, see you later. If we go back to when we integrated, Eric wanted us to find out what kind of woman we wanted to be.
Mhm.
And so we did a really deliberate investigation of styles of femininity. And we didn't have great role models in our um, environment, let's put it that way. And so we went out and we actively tried to work out what we were. Now, prior to integration, the most active of our alters, 95% of them were men. And even when we had the not girls, they were a deliberate rejection of femaleness. So we had to explore what were we going to be.
Mhm.
And this led to a whole range of investigations. Were we a woman because were we rejecting being a woman because we were afraid of men?
Mm.
Were we looking at the world through a lens of having been, in essence, raped into heterosexuality? What were we? And it's a question that comes up quite a bit. I have a number of friends in the trans community,
Mhm.
and watching them transition from one gender to another has really made me look back at what am I? Who am I? What do I want to be? And it's still a dialogue that we're having all the time.
I feel that.
Um, yeah, it's like when Eric was here a little while ago, and my entire experience of the body changed
Mhm.
because as a woman, I wear a bra. As a man, he doesn't need one. So it's like the sensation of the bra against my skin disappears the minute one of the boys appears.
Mm,
So
interesting.
if it's the most bizarre experience. They sit differently. They
Mhm.
sit differently because they have anatomical parts that don't squish well when we sit like a lady. And so their lived experience is of male anatomy, even though as I look down, I am quite clearly female. But when Muscles is here or Eric is here, we are not female. And so it became an interesting debate about ownership of the body. And we identify as female. Unless the boys are around, and then we identify as male, which is why we always put it as we, us, and our, because then whatever pronoun comes out of my mouth doesn't matter. We had to investigate whether, as a individual operating in the world, what part of what we were doing was a direct response to being afraid. Was I a woman because I was afraid that if I became a man, I could do that to somebody else? No. Was I being a woman because it was easier? No. There were all these really basic questions about the anatomy.
Yeah.
And we decided that the best thing to do was to go with the anatomy because no amount of male hormone is going to shrink my boobies.
You can do surgery.
Yeah. I think that recognizing our multiplicity, recognizing the different genders that live within me works really well when I take the time to acknowledge that the anatomy may be female, but the psychology is not always female. And so we've negotiated. So I'm currently wearing a pretty top, but trousers, because that way the boys are comfortable. We went to the premieres. So funny. Beautiful frock at the premieres.
Yeah.
Shorts on underneath, because that was our negotiation. The boys were like, oh my God, it's a fucking frock. And we're like, yeah, but it's okay because we're going to wear shorts underneath, which make you feel comfortable. So as long as there's negotiation, gender is so fluid with us that we don't really notice as we flip from one to the other, because we have the switching is so fast. We've never had to indicate our switching by changing outfits or changing our hair or attempting to reflect the inner psychology. As long as we've got trousers, the boys are comfortable. Of course, that's always fun when they rip the shirt off because they want to move a cabinet. And as far as they're concerned, they're topless. And I'm standing there in the bra going, excuse me, hello, modesty. So, but one of the other things that we had to really think about goes back to what I mentioned earlier about, were we afraid of men? And we had to work out, are we afraid of male anatomy, or were we afraid of my father's male anatomy? This was a real challenge. And I found myself looking at homoerotic art as a way to actually look at whether I was afraid of the anatomy in general or whether it was specific. And the thing is, as women, we're not always supported to express our attachment to male anatomy through porn or through art. Women are not supposed to be interested in the anatomy, apparently.
No.
And so the only way to find descriptions of men, how men behaved, what men looked like, resulted in me exploring male homosexual imagery. I learnt I am not scared of the anatomy. I was just scared of his. And having seen the anatomy of the artist's Tom of Finland, I can tell you my father does not stack up. So I actually found homoerotic art, Tom of Finland. If you are in any way worried about whether you're scared of men, check out the art of Tom of Finland, because every man has a variety of joyful expressions on his face. And I don't recall joyful expressions on the face of my father at any time during my life, whether he was abusing me or not. So Tom's boys were joyful. They were consenting. And that gave me a chance to really look at men outside of the world of abusive men.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I strongly recommend Tom of Finland. He will make you laugh no matter what, mainly because his gentlemen are overly well endowed. But you can actually look at one and not want to run. And so what I learned was I was actually attracted to men. I did enjoy looking at the anatomy. I went in and I found gay literature, men with men literature. I tried women with women literature to see if that was something that appealed. And to be honest, it didn't float my boat. But men with men was okay. And I went to see George Blair West over this, and I said, I'm actually having feelings of embarrassment and shame for looking at Tom of Finland. And his attitude was, that's just societal. You ignore that, because that is society expects women to be embarrassed about their own sexual desires. And he said, and I'm delighted that you have started to look in this one. And he said, I couldn't have picked a safer group, men with men, because they're clearly not interested in raping me, because I'm not their flavor. And so what we ended up with was different altars identify in different sexual spaces. So some of them have identified as male and gay. Others have expressed interest in gay men, not because they're attracted to them sexually, but because they're attracted to them emotionally, because gay men have been very gentle with us. So we've explored whether or not we're attracted to women, which is still a work in progress because, well, that's tough. And we have explored heterosexuality. But if I have an altar that is particularly attracted to an individual, I don't put a label on it. I have a friend that a large number of my alters are attracted to emotionally. They don't want to do anything of an intimate nature, but they like being around this person, that they feel valued, they feel seen, and they feel that they have the capacity to give that back. And so in terms of being any kind of specified identity, we're not. We're not gay, we're not lesbian, we're not hetero, we're not homo, we're not any one thing. We are a person that likes to be around people who attract us emotionally.
I love
Sex
that.
is not always the important part.
No, I love that.
You know?
That's such a good way to describe it, I feel like.
Yeah. If we went out and Muscles met somebody and fell deeply dippy with this individual, what we would do is we would step back to leave Muscles to have a relationship with that person. That's what everybody did for me when we met Lord Maverick. Everybody stepped back in order to give me the space to spend time with Lord Maverick. And that was incredible. And I learned so much about myself. And he was very supportive of us exploring other options and other experiences and other types of gender expression. But for me, gender is very different from sex. And so I, Gabrielle, am attracted to men. In a sexual way. I, Gabrielle, am attracted to trans people in an emotional way because I have met so many people that are trans and they are so beautiful and they are emotionally so open and joyous, and I'm attracted to that. I think they're incredible. Some of my best friends are trans, and I love that. I love that for them, and I support them in whatever choices they make around how they want to see or construct their anatomy. But for me, we are anatomically female, and that's a good thing for us. Admittedly, we have had to do some mental contortions for the boys. Some of the boys don't like hair and they want to shave it all off.
Interesting.
Oh, it's a nightmare. I'm going to go to the hairdresser, shave it off, get rid of it. So we've actually sat down with the boys and said, hey, parts of us are going back and finding the music that we loved in the 70s and 80s, and we're watching the videos. And we've discovered that we love big hair bands. Oh my God. John Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses. The bigger the hair on men, the more likely I am to like the band. Even Alice Cooper's got some wicked hair.
Very
So what
true.
we've said is we want to grow our hair out. And it's the longest it's ever been. So we've told them that they're in their Axl Rose phase.
I love
It's
that.
it's not that the hair is yuck or anything. There's nothing wrong with the hair, but Muscles and some of the boys have always got, girly. But so that's why we've always had such short hair. Even for the documentary, my hair is short, very short. It's never got this length before. And so Muscles was like, let's get rid of it. And well, actually, we as females would like to try playing with our hair and having plaits and having all the long hair stuff that we've never had.
Mm-hmm.
And he went, "You're shitting me, right?" No, no, no. And so we've negotiated. And as long as I refer to the boys as having big hair, they're okay, because it's the big hair bands of the 80s. So that's just for hair. Can you imagine having to do all of that for makeup, fingernails,
Yep.
clothes, shoes, handbags? So we have the argument between, it's constant negotiation. Do we have a handbag or do we get a backpack? Because the boys prefer the backpack, but I want to be elegant. And in order to be elegant, I want a handbag. So everything is negotiation. And it is all underpinning that whatever the anatomy is irrelevant. It's our lived experience. So we've got shirts that the boys like to wear. And we negotiate on T-shirts. We negotiate on everything. And in the end, if it's a problem, Symphony votes, and what Symphony says goes. If in doubt, retreat. Let Symphony make the decision.
Real. I have sort of a connected question. I know that you said that that you don't really identify with any specific labels, like collectively. But I personally, I'm a proponent of neuroqueer theory. It's essentially describing this relationship between neurodivergence, which is like ways that brains differ from normativity, and with multiplicity being a neurodivergence, and queerness. Where,
we're definitely neurodivergent.
Yeah, and then queerness, which is like a deviation from another norm in society around gender and sexuality. And the way that relationships are formed. And neuroqueer theory essentially posits that there's a relationship between these two things. The idea that deviating from the norm neurologically and deviating from the norm in terms of gender, sexuality, and relationships, they're inherently interconnected. That's something that I find is truthful for myself. Would you say that you would also find that truthful for you?
I'd find that truthful for me. I think that sometimes the labels cause us more problems than going without. And when I think about my relationships with people, my relationships with my friends are about that person.
Yep.
It's not about their identity or what they identify as, their personal pronouns or anything like that. I'm drawn to people. I can't say it any better than Yanto Jones does in Torchwood, Doctor Who spin-off, when he says to his family he's not gay, it's just Jack. And he is in love with Jack Harkness, our omnisexual. And that's me. I'm not identifying in any specific category. I am saying it's me and this person. And I don't see the labels as necessarily helpful for me. Now, they're helpful for other people. But if I was to say I am in love with a man, when someone says people assume it's a singular. When I say I am in love with a specific person, I'm not just talking about me, Gabrielle, having a relationship with this person. I'm talking about a large number of other alters, all of whom identify in different ways. So labels has never been particularly helpful for me. I've always found labels, in my experience, to be an opportunity to be discriminatory, which I don't like.
Yeah, no, I feel
The
that.
minute you say gay, you're going to have somebody who is going to be a homophobe. It doesn't matter whatever else you say, that homophobe has only heard gay, and their dislike, their rejection begins with the label. So I take the labels away.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I can say to people, I am in love with this individual. And I've not put a tag on it. So I haven't activated that internal bias or the prejudices. And when we're multiple, we have multiple relationships with multiple people, and we have multiple relationships within our relationship with the person that we love.
Yes, that's so true.
Lord Maverick has relationships with so many of my alters, and every relationship is different. And how he behaves around Symphony is very different from how he behaves around Gabrielle, me. And he doesn't put any labels on any of it. And therefore he has relationships, friendship with one, love affair with somebody else, a love-hate relationship with somebody else, I intend to tease you until I make you cry relationship with someone else. And in a way, Lord Maverick demonstrates the multiple ways a single person can have relationships. And I think that's beautiful.
It is.
He's had to do it because he's dating somebody with MPD, but he's been open to it. He'll tease Muscles mercilessly over, I know you love me, really. Not like that. I'm your friend, not like it.
Yeah, that's so good.
And yes, sure, I saw you walking around in the dress. It wasn't me, it was one of the other girls. And there's that teasing, but it's also about providing a safe space in the relationship to be male, female, not girl, non-gendered, furry, sub, dom, whatever.
I like that you know
Many
the term
labels.
furry.
I love furry. Got a friend who's a furry.
It really shows that you are in the nerd culture.
Oh, I am well in the nerd culture. And the other thing is that as a person with MPD, I have gone and I have found safe spaces within the kink world to explore different ways of being with people who actually want to talk about sex and intimacy.
Yes.
Because 90% of communication does not discuss sex or intimacy, and it doesn't discuss consent. And so I find consent negotiations in all manner of relationships imperative.
Yeah.
I can't have a relationship without a consent negotiation. It's just not possible. And even when you were emailing me about doing this, although I didn't say it, we were actually doing consent negotiations with you over what we could talk about, what you're interested in, and where we'd like to go.
Yes.
That's consent negotiation.
Yes.
It's not about sex.
No.
But it's consent negotiations. And in the kink world, this is paramount. And so I've actively gone and I've entered the kink world, and I've met people from all manner of different kink varieties and kink communities and gender and sexuality communities. And I have found this, along with Tom of Finland, these two things have been the most powerful in helping me to identify as a human first. And whatever gender I am depends on who's in the body on the day. Kink is incredible. Kink and consent.
Yeah, no, the kink
Love it.
community is so good for that. They
Mhm.
take everything that is like, supposed to be not explicitly said and say, what if we
Mhm.
explicitly say it?
Absolutely. And you can sit there and say, this I'll do, that I don't. This I will, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And then they give you the opportunity to experiment and try. They know the importance of the conversation. And yeah, for people that are wanting to work out their who they are and what they are and where they fit, kink is the best place to try, because you can start off just on FetLife, and talk to people, do research in a contained environment that allows you to read everybody else's posts. It's brilliant. Very fond of fetlife.com. Love
Also
it.
highly recommend.
Because yeah, and everything in there is about consent. And there's even pages and pages on how to run consent negotiations. And for those of us who've had trauma histories, even just going in there and reading, you learn so much about how you can make your world better by consent negotiations, or making explicit what is mostly implicit in society. I love it.
I want to just circle back to the documentary, just briefly, because writing a book and starring in a documentary are two very different things.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
in making the documentary, you're also inviting a whole lot more collaborators, a whole lot more people that are involved in that
Yeah.
operation. So you also have to hand over to other people and trust that they are going to respectfully represent your story. And I want to ask
That's right.
how that process was for you. How much creative control were you allowed in that collaboration, and how was that process of handing that trust over to other people?
Well, the process itself was incredibly empowering, and that empowering began at the very first set of talks that we had, where we actually negotiated a contract in which I was able to raise concerns about things that I wanted to either make sure was included, make sure was not included. And so they embedded these early discussions in the contract they gave me, which was amazing. And so one of the things that I said was, if there is a disagreement between us in how a altar is being perceived or presented, my vote is the one we go with. That was really important, because there's a lot of altars and we couldn't do everybody. And they ended up having to make some, shall we say, composite altars. So by that, I mean, in particular, they gave qualities that belong to volcano were given to muscles. Now, muscles and volcano work really well together, so it wasn't an issue, but it was just about not overwhelming with too many animated altars.
I did notice
So,
that there was a lot more paring back of information in the documentary.
well, there has to be.
Yeah.
So there were things that were really important to me, like people have in the past considered volcano to be an angry altar, which they take from his name. So we said he's not an angry altar. So when we present him or his part of muscles, we must be sure not to put that or present that in a way that can be seen in an angry light, because he's the calmest altar of all of us. I've had Volcano for a very long time, and he finally lost his temper 18 months ago, and that was the first time ever.
Wow.
And it was okay, because soothe the savage beastie with Aerosmith, but I had to make sure that he wasn't presented angry because the name.
Yeah.
There were things like I had to discuss my mother in the documentary. And this was hard because I could sit and talk for 2 hours about my mother, but they might use less than a minute in the documentary. And so the choice of what minute they went with was not up to me. So everything that I said about my siblings, everything I said about my mother was filtered through. They have not waived their right to anonymity.
Yep.
They have not waived their right to privacy. And I don't want to say anything that could traumatize any of them, because living in the family was traumatic enough. We didn't want to traumatize anybody. And that's what I've spoken about my siblings and my mother with you today. And it's still filtered through their right to privacy, their right to anonymity, and the fact that I don't want to make a tough instance any harder. So when we talked at length about my sister, we talked at length about my brother, and difficult decisions had to be made, I ultimately said, look, I'm going to trust the process. You've been around me long enough to know my beliefs, my attitudes, the way I see my family. Please respect that in what you choose to put in the documentary. And we gave my mother right of reply, but to have not addressed the "where was your mother" question, it just keeps coming up. It's like a bad penny. So we had to address it. And so we addressed it, and then we gave her right of reply. There were things about my brother that I would have loved to have put in the documentary. My brother, on multiple occasions in my childhood, did his best to protect me. And I wanted that in there. But to protect his privacy and anonymity, we made the decision that that should be cut. So there were really hard choices. I wanted to say my brother Frank was the one person in my childhood that did attempt to make it stop. He didn't understand what it was, but he did go up against my father and say, stop, you're hurting her. I wanted that. I wanted to validate my brother, because he feels so guilty that he couldn't stop it, that he didn't know, that he didn't understand. He was 5.5 years old.
Yeah.
But I can say that he can't see it. So I really wanted that in, but we had to respect the process. It would have led to more content needing to be put in. And so we had to cut back. Making a documentary is like building an orchard and then pruning it down till you've got one tree. Horrible. But we wanted to get the message out there.
Yeah.
And George wanted more content around actual therapy. But again, we couldn't fit it in the 88 minutes, so it had to go.
Yep.
But we got to keep the army. I love the bit on the table with the army. I loved it. I was not aware that had happened. I was not included in that filming, so I just think, oh my God, that's so cool. So, but yes, when you write a book, you have control over the narrative right up until the lawyers get onto it and your editor gets onto it, but you still have the narrative. You've compiled the narrative. With a documentary, producers and directors are compiling the narrative. And I didn't get a huge amount of say in the direction that they chose to go. However, and I'm talking here about the Australian version.
Yeah.
There was a English cut. And the people in that production team ran much more with the story of my sister's experiences and the court case in 1996-97.
Is that because it was
And
directly in England? Or...
because it's England. Yeah. And when I saw their initial cut, I panicked because they had given a large amount of detail about my sister's experiences and that court case, but they didn't have consent from her to do so. And I pulled the pin on that immediately, and I asked them to go back and do it again. And I've even asked for somebody to sit with my sister so that she can view the completed documentary before it goes live in the UK. So she has right of reply, but it's not like we said anything negative about her, but she didn't waive her right to anonymity.
Yeah, it's
she
important
didn't
for her.
waive her right to privacy. And I absolutely laid an egg over this. I was like, no, you can't. And I put my foot down and said, no, you're not doing that. You are not going to do that. It's going to traumatize my sister. You are not doing it.
It's her story to tell.
Yeah. And my sister not only went through hell, she lost access to family members that she loved as part of this. And I'm damned if I'm going to make it worse. So I actually stomped on the original cut and said no. And they were very respectful, and they've actually gone back. They've made the edits I requested. They've changed the entire tone of their version, and they've gone to my sister and given her the opportunity to view it in advance if she so chooses. They've given her access to support if she so chooses, and they've given her the right to say, I don't want to see this. I just didn't want her waking up and having people talking about what they had seen and her not knowing what had been said or not knowing what had been said about her. That would be devastating. So I went, no. So you have to put your trust in the team. And because the team in the UK hadn't worked directly with me, they only worked directly with the footage. They didn't understand the enormity of what they were attempting to do.
I'm glad that you were able to have such a good experience making the documentary, but it's such a good piece of multiplicity media in a landscape full of terrible media. I know that the documentary very pointedly criticized the film Split by putting a little trailer aspect in there. It's definitely not alone, though, in its harmful portrayal. Like, there's so much bad media out there about
have you seen Primal Fear? Oh my Lord, Primal Fear is worse than Split.
No. But are there any media that you've seen that maybe like was not even intentionally trying to represent multiplicity, but that you felt was sort of representing your experience with plurality?
To be honest, no.
No?
I've not found anything that reflects my reality. I've watched Sybil, and I've read Eve. I guess the closest I've come is Trudy Chase and When Rabbit Howls.
Okay.
And that's got a whole big flashing red light trigger warning for that one. But that was the first time I read anything about extreme abuse. But in the movie and in the book, there's a kind of fudged ending, which kind of left me feeling I didn't know whether she'd actually confronted her father. And as a person who wanted to confront my father, as a person who wanted justice, I found that the portrayal of DID MPD has either been within a therapeutic framework or, so that's Eve and Sybil. Then we have MPD as within the justice system as a get out of jail free card, which is primal fear, split, and of course Billy Milligan.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Billy. And I have actually sat and watched the recordings of Billy in therapy with Cornelia Wilbur and watched him switch. So I have no doubt that Billy had MPD. There is an abuse history. It's a known abuse history provided from people other than Billy. He's a genuine multiple, but I don't care how genuine a multiple he is when he uses his multiplicity to get out of jail free and take MPD and label it being insane.
Yep.
Because he doesn't want to take responsibility for what he did. And I have had real issues with Billy around that because we have a policy. If the gob said it or the body done it, we own it.
Yep.
The representations of MPD, DID in the media tend to be using it as a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't me, it was my other alter. Bollocks. Bollocks. You own your shit, people. If I went out and smacked somebody across the face, I don't care whether it's Muscles or Eric or even Symphony. This hand hit somebody in the face. We own it. We take responsibility. And that's what I have found in my dealings with people that I know that have DID. We all own responsibility for what we do. And that's why I get so upset over this idea that MPD is insanity, which it isn't, and it's a get out of jail free card. Billy Milligan had the opportunity to own his shit and have MPD identified as a reaction to childhood abuse. And instead of going for that, instead of validating the abuse, instead of validating the multiple responses, he chose to use it to get out of responsibility. And so in America, he's the first person who was ever found not guilty by reason of insanity. And that's where MPD suddenly got dumped into we're nuts.
Yep.
And we're not. If he had been honest and said, my alter, who is female, was intimate with my victim, who was female, she didn't have consent. It's wrong. I own it. It is rape.
Mm-hmm.
Because although my alter was female, my anatomy was male, which makes it rape because there was no consent.
Mm-hmm.
We could have had a far greater understanding of the gender and sexual difficulties people with MPD have. But no, we were declared by that trial insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because Billy didn't have the balls to sit there and say, yeah, man, I did it, and this is why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Billy Milligan did a great disservice to all American people with MPD DID because we now have to fight against the notion set in law with a precedent that MPD equals insanity. Way to go, Billy Milligan.
And beyond that, I think like globally, there's been a huge impact by that because as much as America is one country, it very much like the world does look to them to set a lot of precedents.
Well, this is the thing. By declaring it insanity, then the filmmakers make film about MPD and they go straight back to it's insane. And that's how we get these horrendous films and these horrendous things about MPD and how we're all nuts and we're all dangerous and we're all going to kill everybody. But you know, the funniest thing is, right, if MPD is caused by childhood sexual abuse, which we all know it is, it impacts substantially more female children than it does male children. Why are we not having films around female serial killers? Because surely the numbers would imply that most people with DID come from an environment where they have been brutalized in order to do it to the next generation or the next person or their victim. Surely we should be having females. What got me about Split is the assailant was his newest alter. So his newest alter. So they actually created a serial killer. Now, I'm sorry. I grew up needing a serial killer.
It was
you
just
build what you need. What on earth?
The story
would make
it didn't make any sense.
It's never made sense.
No.
And the only thing it does is it pollutes the pool. So when you or I talk about having a alter that is the opposite gender to our anatomy, in his case it was a woman, it's seen as bad, it's seen as negative, it's seen as, you know, we're doing this for attention. And what we're actually doing is we created alters of the opposite gender because the opposite gender seemed safer for us as a child. We make what we need, and I have never had a need for a serial killer.
Nope.
I've never had a need for a rapist. I've never had a need for a burglar, armed robber, or drug dealer. But if you look at Primal Fear, they create a weak child alter and then present this is the alter. Everybody else who was strong and masculine and violent, no, this weak person is the host. And then in the end, when he's found not guilty, it turns out that he was the alleged host was actually fraudulent and all the others were genuine, violent, nasty, offensive human beings. I have never in my life wanted to inflict on anybody else any of what happened to me. And that's what people don't understand. The people that make these movies do not understand. You as a survivor with DID do not want to inflict or replicate what happened to you on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it burns my boats that people have this idea that DID equals dangerous, violent, and we all should be locked up. Well, surely that's the ultimate of blaming the victim.
Yeah. But, imagine them being logical.
Oh, I will admit I lasted exactly 5 minutes in the Tara.
The United States of Tara?
They started with a sexual altar and I just went, I'm out. See ya.
I have watched all 3 seasons of that myself.
No, well, apparently it's very realistic.
I think
But
I gave it
it,
3 out of 5 stars, personally.
well, George said that when he tried to watch it, it was like work, so he gave up. So there must be some elements in that is realistic to our world. But again,
it's a mixed bag.
I mean, I had somebody who contacted me and said, hi, I'm writing a novel and I want my main character to meet somebody with MPD. Help me out. And I just sat there going,
What?
no. In order to do that, you need a backstory of extreme and explicit sex abuse. I'm not helping you with that. Sorry, no. But it's become the fashion. Just lob somebody in with MPD and we'll be fine.
Yeah. Some people try it with, good intentions, but then they don't engage at all with people with DID or MPD, so like it ultimately stumbles and falls a lot of the time.
Yeah, and the difficulty is also that in order to advise somebody on how to accurately represent our world, we have to go back into our world, which re-traumatizes us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, it's a case of, let's just not make fiction out of MPD, hey? Because you have to give a reason why somebody, your character, has MPD. You can't just blithely say that they have a history of sex abuse and then have them react as if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way they can react appropriately is talking to people with DID about our triggers, which puts us in shit places. So it's a bit of a tricky world.
Yeah. And I'm not entirely against it being fictionalized, but I do think that the stories should be told by multiples. Like,
yeah,
those are the people that should be spearheading the stories about multiplicity.
Well, yeah, for multiples, by multiples.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we get this.
Mm-hmm.
We understand, but the amount of words that we would need to explain our triggers is incredible. I have just a tiny example. So you've got this character that has a history of abuse and has MPD. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they're driving down the highway and they see a mural with babies on it. I'm triggered as a survivor. That triggers me something fierce. I have actually been known to drive kilometers out of my way to avoid this blasted mural. And it's not that it's a bad one, it's a beautiful one, but it triggers me.
Yeah.
So how do you write that into your story? You need way too many words to go, oh shit, it's that bloody mural. Hoof it left, quick, which is what I do. But explaining that in a book,
yeah,
giving the character the number of pregnancies and babies I had to make that trigger. No, thank you.
no.
I want to write that.
Is there any advice or messages that you, other than everything that you've already said today, anything additional that you would like to say to other systems, other multiples out there who are maybe struggling to come to terms with their plurality or their experiences of abuse?
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to add a few words on that.
Mm-hmm.
The psychiatric and medical and often legal worlds turn MPD into a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We are instantly problematized. We are disordered. But actually, MPD, DID, is the single greatest act of self-love you can do. And think about this. You did this before you even had the concept of love, let alone self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Your alters are there to protect you. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Your alters are there because they love you and they want to protect you and they want to keep you safe. Now, when you were a child, some of their strategies may not have been the best, but it was the best that they could do at the time with the resources and the understandings and the knowledge that they had at the time. Now, as adults, some of the responses may not be particularly helpful, but they're being done because they want to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Every alter within your system, whether they will admit it or not, is there because they love you, is there because they're protecting you. And whatever format their protection takes is still protection. If you've got an angry alter that gets mad and throws things, still love. If they destroy things, it's still love. It doesn't matter how it's expressed. What your alters are doing is keeping you safe as best as they can.
Mm-hmm.
You matter to your alters. You are the person that they get out of bed for in the morning. You are their reason for being. You are who they want to look after. And that's such an amazing gift.
Mm-hmm.
And given to you in a situation where there was nobody else to help you, to love you, to cherish you. You did that for yourself. And I have no doubt that if you have siblings, parents, and animals, you've gone out of your way to protect them as well. Your alters understand that you are the most important person in the world. That's not being selfish. That's being real.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to be the most important person in their life.
Yep.
Whatever your alters tell you, and sometimes they tell you some of the most horrible things, and you sit there and go, oh, it can't possibly be true. It is true. And they're telling you because you now are strong enough and capable enough to know what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything your alters do is about you. It's not about your abuser. Even when they sit there and tell you they did this and they did that and they did this and they hurt you and this is what you did in response, it's all about you. You are the most important person in the world. You matter. The mere existence of your alters tells me that you matter to you. Grab it, run with it, love them back, because it doesn't matter whether there's 2 or 2,000. Everybody there is there to help and protect and love you. And in a world where you're not being loved, and you can't be being loved while you're being abused, the two do not fit together. Your alters loved you when nobody else was able to do that. Your alters are incredible. Your alters are you. Love them. Enjoy them. And when they're telling you the rough stuff, and they will, make sure to find out something that they like and try to give them back something that they like. Pancakes with chocolate was my go-to, which makes it surprising I am not the size of a blimp. But they might have, they just want to go play tennis, or they want to go swim, or they want to go watch a movie. Find something pleasant that you can do with your alters as often as possible. Different things, different alters, different things. Yep. But don't let it all be about the abuse. Let it also be a recognition of their skills, their tenacity, and their love, because you matter.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast and spending so much time.
It's been amazing.
You've given me so much of your time today.
I have loved every minute of this. This has been incredible.
A big thank you to Dr. Jeni Haynes. It was so wonderful to discuss all of these things with her. I hope that you all enjoyed these interviews as much as I did and got something powerful and meaningful out of them. I can highly recommend the We Are Jeni documentary. Even though it technically tells the same story as the book, due to their different media formats, what they have to offer and their impacts are so vastly different, in my opinion. The documentary offers a more specific example of how Jeni's diagnosis of MPD/DID was used as legal evidence in the case against her father, and the visual medium also allows for Jeni's alters to be represented not only through her own body, but also through the visual representations. It's just so meaningful for that visual representation to be there, for so many systems to see, for so many non-systems to see. It is some of the best media representation of multiplicity that we have. For these reasons, I give the documentary a 5 out of 5 for multiplicity representation. Again, this documentary represents so much of the lived experience of being multiple, showing the humanity and the nuance and the complexity that comes with that. And we always need more of that in the world, in my opinion. We always need more multiples telling their own stories. But tell me, have you seen We Are Jeni? What did you think of it? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any comments or suggestions for a topic to cover on MeDIDa, or if you would like to be a guest on an episode, you can contact us on medidapodcast@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Avodacat, where I'll be uploading episodes, and you can find us on Instagram under MeDIDa Podcast and Facebook under me.didea. I've been Avodacat, this has been MeDIDa, and it's time to switch out.